Sapphire bullets of pure.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of the Captain Logan Show. I am Captain Logan. And joining me this evening is my buddy Brandon Grimm. Hello, Brandon.
I never get that. I never remember which hand. It's the hand in the middle, and I always use my right hand for it. And I'm left-handed. I don't get it. I'm always off camera.
Are you concerned about the consistency of it?
No, I'm concerned that I always wave to people off camera by accident because I should be using my left
so you're
hand.
like, you don't know it, but I'm actually waving at you right now.
Like, left-handers have this thing where, they know directions and they know them, really well, but they often forget immediate recall on which side is which, especially, when looking in a mirror.
Oh, really?
It's really weird. I have to think about which, if I'm just writing, I know my left hand, but if I have to think about left, I have to think about something associated with my left hand.
How much of that is because the world is oriented so much toward right-handed people?
A lot of that I can tell you, but when I get a good pair of left-handed scissors, oh my goodness, I have 2 pairs of Fiskars at home and they rock.
Okay, gonna put you on the spot. Name 3 things that you'd rather have a special left-handed version of.
So scissors for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say anything that lots of pancake flippers are oriented for the right hand. They've got an angle.
When you say pancake flipper, do you mean spatula?
Like a spatula.
Okay, yeah, spatula city.
Spatulas are.
Well, that's fine.
You're
you're just specifically talking about the thing that you use the spatula for. So if you had a pancake flipper, would there be another spatula that you would use for things that aren't pancakes?
I saw a thing once that was an actual flipper. You pick up the thing and it flips it.
Oh.
It was interesting.
Okay.
That's
I'm imagining a thing that is on a roter on the end that you press a button and it turns.
That's what that was.
Oh, is that
like.
what? Really?
Uh-huh.
Okay. What's your third thing?
So another thing just immediately that comes to mind. For some reason, certain power tools, they're geared towards right-handed use.
Sure.
Especially if you look at a lathe, you're going to be operating on a lathe. The motor is going to be on your left-hand side, your dominant hand's on that side. Sometimes you want the freedoms, stuff like that.
That makes sense. Yeah. Did you have a problem in school with writing desks? Because that's the thing I hear about from left-handed people. My dad's left-handed.
I haven't been in
he's always
school in
about
so
that.
long so this was a thing. I grew up with. I started out with desks that had the chairs attached, and so you had the desk overhanging, and it was always on the right side for you to rest your arm. And I never had one for my left arm, and it was a pain because I'd be writing and left-handed notebooks. Those are great too.
Yeah.
I did a whole left-handed notebook thing in my algebra class in high school, and people were really impressed.
So what is a
this.
left-handed notebook?
So you know how you're writing on the right side and the spiral's down the middle?
Yeah.
My hand has to sit on that spiral.
Right.
So you either have
But if you flip the notebook, doesn't a right-handed person have the same problem?
Yeah, but they still have their right-handed notebooks. They just go buy a right-handed notebook. I need a left-handed notebook.
In a normal notebook, though, isn't it just 50% of the time you have to deal with the spine and 50% you don't?
You're writing on both sides of the paper, but a lot of times you're only on one side of the paper necessarily.
Okay, I'm not picturing this right, but it's fine. I'm not understanding this. But
no, that would be the case if you're writing on the back side of a piece of paper. Yes.
Okay, right.
But
I got you.
when you get 3-hole punch stuff in a workbook in a binder, it's going to be on the front side of the page, and you're reaching over the edge of the binder. I had everything reversed for me.
So anyway, there's our preamble about left-handed talk. I don't know, I just got interested in that right away. Welcome, everybody. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us tonight on a special random episode of the Captain Logan Show. This isn't going to be in the numbered sequence. We just thought we'd pop on and chat with you guys a little bit and hang out, have fun, talk a little bit about our history together, Brandon. Letting everybody know who is this Brandon Grimm person anyway. We're going to chat a little bit
I've been around a while.
Yeah, we're gonna chat a little bit about our friendship, our relationship, both on and off camera. And part of the reason I wanted to do this is because lately I've been getting some complaints from people that I seem to really dislike Brandon, and that I'm too mean to Brandon, and that it makes people uncomfortable. And so I'm seeing some comments right now live. And by the way, welcome everybody live. I see Subjects in here, Solar Dragon. Dragon's here, Geek Legion of Doom, good old Gamer, Patrick Bateman's here, Blue Dragon 5, T-Edge1, Lana Song. Welcome, everybody. Thanks a bunch for hanging out with us. I know I've been doing a lot of extra live streaming lately, and not extra, but I guess just the last few days in a row I've been live, and another regular Captain Logan show tomorrow night, Thursday at 7 Central. But we impromptu just today decided it would be maybe a good idea and a fun idea to sit down and chat with you about this and just other things with us. I'm seeing comments like, "Oh, drama gets the views," and things like that.
Well, that's why you ham it up sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing this up a little bit, partly because I think it's amusing that some folks seem to have not gotten the joke. And part, am I talking? Man, I'm always talking like
off.
I'm always talking 30 seconds behind myself. But I also wanted to address this a little bit and say that yes, there is a little bit of truth, not in that I hate Brandon.
No, absolutely not.
But Brandon
he only dislikes me a little bit.
Brandon and I have a very interesting relationship, and I don't want to call it an antagonistic relationship, but there are things about Brandon, and we've talked about this for years, that I don't understand, that confuse me, that sometimes irk me, that sometimes irritate me.
I am a weird individual. I will cop to that any day.
And I will cop to the fact that I am not light enough about this some of the time. Again, for camera, sometimes we like to really play it up and get silly and crazy with it. We did an After Dark last week where Brandon and I got in a screaming match about Brandon's habits going to restaurants, and we thought it was hilarious. And there were a couple white people in the comments that I think were a little bit worried about us. And at the end, I felt the need to make sure and say, "Brandon, are we okay?" And Brandon looks at me and goes, "Why are you asking me that? Like, this is our relationship.
Yeah,
this is how we interact with each other." But I did want to say, so
15 years, I mean, that's nothing to shake his stick at.
Yeah, so I am laying all cards on the table this evening about this. This is entirely real. This is not me playing up anything or being exaggerating or being silly. This is me saying, if Brandon deserves an apology for this, I absolutely apologize, and I think that there are places where you do. Let me just say that.
Yeah, and you have, though. That's the thing, is like
privately, people don't know about it.
Privately, you message me and you'll be like, "Hey man, if I came down on you too hard, like, I'm sorry, I know I can be like that." And I'll be like, I understand where you're coming from, and sometimes I don't get the point. And I know that can be very irritating when I don't get the point, because sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And it's like, we always come back to base, we're always cool. Like, we talk about anything that may even become close to, and never has come to a problem.
Folks have no idea how close we are.
Yeah.
I mean, Brandon and I are really close.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
we're like me and Vince close.
We hang out a lot off camera, too, just doing other stuff.
We've been on a lot of trips together.
Oh, yeah. I know so much of your family across so many states.
Yeah. It's great. Brandon
They know me by name,
Yeah, in that way, Brandon is closer to, like, actual family than probably any other friend I have. Like, you know my family so well. And like, everybody likes you.
I was an usher at your wedding.
Yeah. And that was before we knew each other anything like as well.
I know, that was like a year and a half in.
But like, my brother knows you, my dad knows you, my mom knows, like
your brother's kids know me.
Everybody likes you. Yeah. So anyway, this is gonna look like kind of a
uncle in Iowa.
This is gonna look like kind of a damage control thing. That is not what I mean this to be. I just wanted to partly come on camera and say, no, I don't hate Brandon, and yes, we exaggerate things, and it's become kind of a shtick that I make fun of Brandon, and you've started firing back more lately, which I think is a way better dynamic.
Well, I think that too, but it's like, I was camera shy for a long time. Like, I didn't know how to act on camera. It took me a long time to become, really comfortable with the whole dynamic. And then sometimes, I would be self-conscious about, do I need to look at the camera? Do I need to look at you? Yada yada. Then I just kind of sloughed it off. And when you get rid of that whole kind of thing, you kind of warm up to everything. So also, we haven't talked a huge deal at length in any one given video about our relationship before either.
No, we haven't. I mean, like, you've been on a couple of the kind of reunion shows that we've done, because we've been doing this for a long time, Geekvolution, and so periodically, every couple 3 years, we've made some kind of a video about the history of the channel, and different folks have come on and talked about their experiences, and you've done some of that. But we haven't talked as much on a more personal note, and obviously we won't get TMI, it won't be stupid personal, but we haven't talked...
That's for After Dark.
We haven't talked... Yeah, and if you want to see that, Brandon gets really personal on After Dark. But we haven't talked as much about our friendship off camera. So we want to do some of that. But I did just want to say that I do apologize if we have made, and this is more on me than anything than anybody, if we've made anybody uncomfortable with that. So let me for just a moment talk about the places where I get that I absolutely do come off too irritable, and that I'm not being as lighthearted as I ought to be. So, because I can be an uptight person. This is a thing I know about myself. I think my two biggest problems are I can be too uptight, and I'm, especially on camera, not good at letting anybody else get the word in edgewise, because I don't want there to be any silence, and I'm very used to talking by myself now. And so that by itself is one of the problems and one of the reasons that I come off that way. So somebody earlier, before we started, was talking about how sometimes I like shut you down and I make it look like I'm not interested in what you have to say. When, I mean, again, I'm going to be really open and transparent in this video. When I get nervous, this is like inside baseball stuff, because a lot of people can't tell that that's what this is. When I get nervous, I talk. And I talk fast, and I talk a lot, and I lose complete track of time.
I've seen that on a number of occasions.
And so if I'm like, okay, I'm doing a review or something, and I'm really worried I'm not going to get everything in, or that I'm going to forget something, or that I don't really, have a grasp enough on what it is I'm wanting to talk about, I go nuts. I get everything out really fast, and I get worried about being distracted, and I don't want anybody talking when I'm doing that. And that's a place where I just need to learn to lighten up more.
Every once in a while, and you can really tell when you've I don't want to say hit a nerve, but you've kind of hit that spot. It's like you'll be talking about something, and there'll be like someone else, like myself included, will have something it's hard to get a word in edgewise, but you want to tackle that very point that you made right there. You have something that you feel like adds to it. It can interrupt your train of thought, and you see where that can get annoying. But like we've always, like, if there's ever been an issue with that, we talked about it before, and we tried to fix that dynamic so that we can talk about the things like and get words in edgewise type of thing.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I've been trying to work on is being okay with not always getting every point I wanted to get out. You know what I mean? Like, the video is not necessarily bad if every point wasn't made. And I've also, and I think I'm better at this than I used to be, I've also gotten a little bit better, I think, at being okay with making mistakes and being wrong about certain things. But that first thing I'm still not great at. Like, if there's anything that I meant to say
to that
I left out afterwards, I'm kicking myself so hard. And then if I see, and obviously I try not to let comments get to me, but this is just like a perfectionist thing. If I see a comment, I can't believe Cap didn't bring this up. Man, and I meant to, too. You know what I mean? Just that drives me crazy. So if somebody interrupts my train of thought, I'm going, well, dang it, I don't remember where I was going, and now I've lost something, and now I look annoyed at you. When what I'm really annoyed about is that I'm not compartmentalizing, well enough.
I can relate to that on, like, when I'm doing posts on Facebook and I'm like typing something and I'll post it, I'm like, oh, I forgot to say that. I didn't say that quite right, and then I'll like delete the post and retype it, and then it never gets posted because I tried to edit it too much, and it's too far after the thing, and I'm like, I wish I just kept the original post, that type of thing. Also,
you just gotta take risks. You just gotta put yourself out there.
Also, don't hate me for mentioning this.
Yeah.
But years ago, you and I did a video called Space and Wonder Bread.
Yeah.
Which was specifically designed to highlight the hilariousness of the dynamic, where I did all of the talking, and every time Cap tried to come in, I just kept talking, and he never got a word in edgewise.
Yeah, and the whole point of that joke was that that's what I'm always constantly doing to other people. And we made that back in like 2012, 2013. I mean, like, this is like 8 years later, I still have this issue. The only reason
it's just funny though, because we've addressed that at that time, and it's still one of my favorite quirky videos.
The only reason we didn't make any more of those, by the way, Brandon, because the whole idea of that, we were going to make more, and it was going to be an ongoing conversation. We were going to wear the same clothes, use the same props, and I don't think anybody got it.
I don't either.
Like, that's why I didn't ultimately have us make any more of those.
And then there was one time where we thought about coming back years later and doing another one wearing the same clothes, but we didn't end up ultimately doing it. But yeah, no.
Michael
that's
says the title is debatable.
The title is debatable. Well, I mean, in-house, sure.
So,
Did you see the comment that somebody said that this is really on brand or brand on? Yeah, thank you.
No, I didn't see that. That's
Thank
pretty
you for
good.
that Blue Dragon.
Blue Dragon 5, yeah. Okay, so, I mean, obviously, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I don't hate Brandon.
Yeah, but you're wrong.
If I hated Brandon, I wouldn't spend as much time with him as I do.
That's certainly the case, and vice versa.
Now,
like, for real.
Now, this might sound mean, but I am just trying to say things like they are, okay? So, this is the thing I feel like I need to say. When people say, how come you have Brandon on certain videos? Sometimes I don't have an answer for that.
No, sometimes I'm just around, honestly.
Yeah,
that's been the
Brandon
case
just wants to
before.
hang out. And if Brandon wants to come and be on a video, I mean, there's some things that I probably wouldn't have you on just because it
There's
really
some
doesn't
things you
make any
don't
sense.
have me on.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm making a video that you wouldn't, have anything to add. I'm like, hey, that's cool.
If it's a review
No
of a
big
thing you
deal.
haven't seen, it makes no sense for you to sit there.
Right.
But if it's just a Captain Logan show where maybe 80% of the questions aren't going to have anything to do with stuff you know about, I'm not going to tell you can't be there and sit in and hang out with us. But what'll happen on those shows, and this is the main thing that I want to address with this whole thing, is sometimes, maybe often, somebody will do a super chat or leave a comment, and they will ask about something that Brandon doesn't know a lot about,
right?
And specifically superhero stuff. And
I'm always learning, though.
You should pause that because it's going to run your battery down if you leave the video playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can pause it, and then you can look at the comments.
Whatever, I don't...
Like, I know you turn the volume down, but you're going to run your battery of your phone down. Anyway, so...
Thank you for the tip.
You're welcome. So, anyway, so what will happen is somebody will ask about superhero stuff or something that I know about that Brandon doesn't.
I'm always learning.
Yeah, and the problem is, for Brandon... totally understandably, and this is what he ought to be doing, trying to learn more, he will very often, inevitably, ask a question that everybody else in the audience knows the answer to.
Yes.
And when that happens, I get weird, and I've got to learn to take that in stride and be more okay with it.
You
this
have
happened
before.
Just the other day, where I can't remember what it was, but somebody asked about something, and
when I said sensei, that happened too.
Sensei, I don't know.
So
what
I said there was a show where we had an issue where we were talking about who would we identify as a character in The Wizard of Oz, and I said I'd been in this.
Oh yeah, but that was several weeks ago.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about a place where you asked a question that everybody else knew the answer to.
Okay.
Where it was some kind of a superhero thing, and you were like, sometimes you'll approach a thing like, I just had this great bright idea, and I'm like, yeah, Brandon, everybody else has had that idea already, and it's completely understandable that you both haven't had that idea until now, and also
was it Victorian
are
Batman?
Excited about it. No, that was fun. It doesn't matter what it was. I don't remember, but it was a sort of thing where it's like, Brandon, we've made 9,000 videos about this, and I can't. And like, I'm trying to get through super chats. We're like half an hour behind on those. If I take the time right now to explain it to you, then people are. So what I worry about is people getting annoyed in the comments in the live show, particularly people who have asked questions and they're waiting for their questions to get read. Yeah. There's no good answer to this, and it's not fair to you not to answer the thing you just asked me about, because as you said, you're trying to learn. So the thing is, in a weird way, when it comes to, especially, again, the superhero stuff, the comic book stuff, I have to almost, when that stuff comes up, treat you like another audience member.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Sort of.
I'm kind of like an audience member in those. I completely understand that and relate to that completely.
Or at least just a newbie to the thing. And so,
because you would want to think, you'd want to think though that you're about teaching people about this stuff. You like to impart your knowledge on this stuff. So
well, and it's as much about having a discourse as like, I'm not really teaching. You know what I mean? But I hear what you're saying. Like, yeah, I mean, especially early on when I would make a rewind, I would be really careful to address it to an audience that doesn't necessarily know anything. And 11 years later, and it's crazy that I've been at this long.
I know, right?
I'm speaking mostly to an audience that is not only already indoctrinated in this stuff, but has been with me a long time. And so we're speaking a language. We're doing like a lingo. And I have to very often remind myself, some people may come in and listen to this who don't know what I'm talking about. And like, I want to speak to those people because it would be nice to continue to grow the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't want to be the big two in DC and Marvel and forget about everybody else and just cater to your current audience. And so I got to be careful. And so it's a really tough balancing act, and I'm not saying that as an excuse. I'm not doing well with that all the time. Maybe not even much of the time. That is an issue for me. It's a thing I have a hard time with. And so what I need to do is just remind the audience, look, I know you've heard me say this before, but Brandon doesn't know it. And for Brandon to be like on the same plane we're at so they can have this conversation, he's going to need to know that. And I should just trust the audience to be okay with that. And then it's up to me to be as concise as I can be about that thing. But anyway, so Brandon, let's get into some stuff about just our relationship and how long we've known each other, and we don't have to get like super nitty gritty. We've talked about some of this before, but we can hit some highlights and stuff.
So I can never remember because I have two slightly different versions in my head about the year in which we met. I know exactly how and why we met, but I can't remember if I was living in Hashinger Hall or McCollum Hall. My 2 years at my 2 school years at KU. It was either late 04 or late 05, and I think it was late 05. And you were working at IHOP with a friend of mine.
It was 05, and the reason I know that is because, and like I track everything by pop culture. So I went to see Batman Begins in the IMAX like third or fourth time I saw that movie the week I got that job. And that's 05. Okay. So that's how I know that.
All right, so late 05, and this a friend of mine who worked at IHOP, he came back, and I was talking to him one day, and he's like, I'd been the year before, I'd been getting him into Star Trek, because at the time, Spike TV had that like 2-hour block of TNG right around noon, and so I'd been getting him into Star Trek, and he goes, "You're not going to believe this." He goes, "I work with a guy who runs a Star Trek club." And I look at him and I go, "We're going." He goes, "Well, I don't know." I go, "No, we're going." And he's like, okay. So my friend Alex brought me over to, he found out where you lived, and he brought me over for Star Trek club. And I came prepared with questions like, is there a ship for this club? Like, what's its class?
Did you write stuff out?
Yeah. I had a whole list. You remember?
That's great.
I listed that, and I asked these questions, and I think you were really impressed that I came asking about this type of thing like up front, and I was really impressed.
I shouldn't remember that you wrote anything down. That's really
no. I was impressed that you had answers to these questions. I was like, this is legit. Like, this is cool, and we hit it off.
We've been at it for 4 years at that. No, 2 or 3 years at that point was all. Yeah. You came relatively early on.
You and I hit it off, and I hit it off with other members of the club, and we've literally been friends ever since. Now, there used to be, it was harder to get together when you lived in Lawrence and I lived in KC, because after that school year, I moved back to Kansas City. Excuse me. And, but we definitely tried, and like I'd hang out after club meetings, or I'd get there earlier if I could, and we did that. And then we started doing more, and, then you moved to town, and that was phenomenal because then you were like just a couple minutes away. I didn't have to drive to Lawrence all the time.
Yeah, well, and I mean, there was a period where we hardly saw each other.
Yeah.
Partly because of that distance. But yeah, now we live like really close to each other.
Absolutely.
Like 5 minutes away since I moved to this place.
Like, not even that. I mean, we're 3 miles by the odometer.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. I guess.
Yeah, you were like 15 minutes away, and now you're like you're 5 minutes, 3 miles. Yeah, just down the road, and it's awesome. It's good.
It's weird that I knew Alex before you.
You think so?
Just because we spend so much time together. Like, I remember a time where I thought of Alex as sort of a closer friend just because, like, you were just, a guy I knew who came to Star Trek Club.
Yeah.
And, like, we hadn't hung out by ourselves, really, until the mortuary.
That's true. That's true. But, I mean, we'd hit it off at the club and we became friends. But, like you said, we didn't start hanging out more until later. So, but, I mean, and then Alex moved out of country, so.
Yeah.
But when he comes back, he always visits, so.
Yep.
That's always
we go
fun.
hang out if we can. We saw Beyond together the second or third time I saw it.
Yeah.
So the main interest Brandon and I have that we share, of course, is Star Trek. And Brandon is, you guys know at this point, I'm sure, didn't grow up with comics. He's not into some of the same stuff that I'm into, and that is kind of the bread and butter on the channel. So working Brandon in, because I always wanted Brandon to get to be involved, because he always seemed like he wanted to. He was always, it'd be cool to come on and do a discussion, but I don't know what on. And so, and I already had at that point a Star Trek show with Sarah, so we would maybe occasionally have you on that show. I can't remember,
once or twice.
But it was kind of tricky to work you in, because my like main branch of pop culture was a thing that was kind of a blind spot for you, and your main part of pop culture is also a thing I know a lot about, the sci-fi side, and of course you're into some like mainstream kinds of stuff and some comedy and stuff that I'm not. So I guess there is a blind spot for me, but the difference is
it's not the stuff you're talking about on the channel.
It's not genre. It's not the stuff anybody would care about. Yeah, exactly. So it was difficult for a long time to figure out a good way to work you in, and we tried doing new movie reviews together for a long time, and that was fun, and I really enjoyed doing it, but we just came at it from like completely different places.
We did, and
it was
I
difficult
didn't know
to have
enough about what I was doing at the very start, but I learned.
Yeah, and I mean, I think those videos got better, but I also think that sometimes we were just kind of having different conversations, and like it was fun because we would argue, or at least we would just like, we had opposite sign flips a lot, because your standards were different than my standards, and that was the show that I found it most difficult to not come off like really irritable and also like condescending, where it's like,
I will agree to that on a certain number of occasions.
It was just hard, because it would look like what I was saying is, oh Brandon, you don't, like, you prude, you don't know how stories are supposed to be made. You don't know how movies are supposed to be made. You don't know how stories are told. How in the world could you possibly like this? And to a certain degree, in a way, that is entertaining for people, and I get that. I got those comments, but there are other people who are like, well, Cap, if you don't like the way Brandon reviews movies, why are you having him on?
Why even have him on at all?
Yeah, and a lot of that was because I felt like you were trying to learn more about like the actual narrative analysis side of it that I was always into, but your sensibilities were simply different. And I'm not saying that they're bad, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with loving movies that I think are terrible, because I like a lot of movies that I also think are terrible.
You definitely told me, like, you like movies that are terrible. I'm like, what you hey, like. I'm sorry.
But early on, I felt like you, with respect, I felt like you weren't the best at making it clear, like, why you thought a thing.
I wasn't.
You would just go,
I know
well, this is how it was to me, and I'm like, that doesn't really like give us very much, Brandon. Like, what is your perspective though? And there's I liked it, and I don't know why. Like, that's valid, that's fine, but like, you got to say something of substance.
Yeah, there's no depth.
Yeah, and I felt terrible that I was feeling like you didn't have a lot of depth in what you were saying, and I didn't know how to tell you that. And so,
but you don't even know my side. Is that I would feel like, God, I don't bring enough to the table. Sometimes I would be like, why does he still have me on? It's like, I know we're friends, like good friends, but like, we don't have to always do like videos if he doesn't want me to do videos, because I knew I wasn't bringing to the table. I was like, just give me enough time to learn, so that I don't sound like a complete stupid idiot sometimes.
Well, and I also thought, and feel free to disagree with this, man, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but sometimes I felt like you would get kind of self-conscious when we would get into stuff that you didn't know a lot about.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of just going, well, I don't really know this, but here's my perspective, it felt like you would try really hard to like get on some sort of a level with it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
There was a turning point. There was a turning point where that stopped being the case. Yes, but that stopped being the case around the point where I really didn't understand Planet of the Apes. It is not for me. I don't understand the appeal.
Oh, really? Okay.
When I saw the movies, I was
talking
like,
about the original Planet of the Apes?
No, I had. So here's the thing: is I never got to see the original Planet of the Apes.
Oh, I mean, you need to.
I know plenty about it, but I never got to see it, and I never saw the Mark Wahlberg thing.
Okay, but what do you mean when you say you didn't? You just don't get the appeal of them at all?
I don't understand. So when I saw a couple of the, we went to the movie theater to see the one where. I can't even think of his name right now. Anyway, we went to go see one.
There's somebody in the comments calling himself Captain Logan right now.
Oh, really?
That's That's pretty funny. And
We
it's funny
did
too
review-
because he's not even pretending like he is me because he's asking like normal people questions.
Yeah.
Like who's going to be joining me for Marvel Mania 2? It's going to be primarily DJ. But I just think it's funny that someone posing as me is asking me normal questions. Anyway.
So we did review on the Planet of the Apes movie that had come out, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. That's what it was.
Which I just adored.
And I didn't. Now I could get into it if I had some more background. I need that more background, but I didn't understand it. I was completely like I got the premise, but it just wasn't working for me, and I didn't explain it very well. And people ripped me a new one in like.
Yeah.
And you had
But now,
to actually.
sometimes, buddy, that's just going to happen
No,
because
and it
people
is.
don't like that you're saying the opposite of what they're thinking.
And I understand that, but you had to tell me that
You'd have
that had
completely
happened.
legitimate things like...
Because what a lot of people don't also understand is I don't watch a ton of the channel. Like, I've seen a lot of it over time and stuff that Cap showed me, you know, that he's really proud of, and it's like a phenomenal job. Like, always, you do such a great job on the stuff that you do. But I don't watch a lot of it, and I've seen some of the stuff that I've been in, you know, here and there, and, you know, I've watched various things that, but, like, sometimes I don't end up seeing the comments. It's once in a blue moon where I go looking for comments.
Yeah.
So, also, I'd like to apologize if anybody ever asks questions in my direction and I don't get back to you. It's because I'm not a huge active participant on that side of things.
Yeah, you're just not looking at the platform.
Somebody asked if I was into, somebody on the comments here asked if I was into, gaming systems. Do you like old school consoles like the Xbox 360? John Early.
John, old school consoles.
That's the first thing that caught my eye.
Oh, come on,
Like,
John.
The 360. I mean, I'm 34 years old. I original Nintendo.
That's last generation. I mean, I realize we're about to get into another one, so it'll be 2 generations ago, but still. Old school, come on!
I always had to fight growing up for the chance to be able to, one, go to a friend's house who had a gaming system, and two, be able to use the handhelds that the kids would bring to school. I grew up playing the violin. Like, you don't understand how much of my life was playing the violin. It was damn near, if I wasn't outside playing around in the field, you know, running my rear off, you know, outside just getting into mischief out in the back in the woods and stuff, I was playing my violin or going to a concert or, you know, that type of thing. So I didn't get a lot of experience with gaming systems. That's why I'm not a huge gamer. Today, there are certain things I like, and I like some PC games, and I like old school Nintendo and Super Nintendo, you know, but beyond, like, the Super Nintendo and, like, the Game Boy Color, like, I'm not doing much at all.
Yeah.
And, like, when I play, and, you know, it's fun for me to try to play these games.
To
but,
get
like,
into hardcore.
the first-person shooters and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I remember playing GoldenEye. Like, oh my goodness. Like, I'd go to a friend's house and I'd have so much fun, but I had no idea what I was doing. Forget hitting a target.
And for the record, I mean, I don't play a lot of that kind of thing either. Like, I'm not any good at FPSs. I don't tend to enjoy them. I guess, you know, old school FPS, like actually old school. I get if you're a lot younger than us, 360 might feel old school. I get that. I mean, like if you're, so I don't mean to make fun. I'm just saying I'm 36 years old. Somebody calls that old school. Like, oh my God, I feel so old. But if you're, you know, I mean, if you think about it, I was working at a GameStop in 2010, and that when that system was current, like right in the middle of its lifespan, and somebody that was a year after I started the channel, right? So like somebody that was 10 back then is 21 now. So for them, that's old school. You see what I'm saying? But it's very difficult for you and I to appreciate that perspective.
And I understand the convention there, but I don't have to agree with it.
So anyway, but real quick with FPSs, like I liked, I played GoldenEye a lot when it came out, and I was a Quake guy, and so I like some of that stuff. But later on, and I like third-person shooters too. But later on, when it got, you know, a lot more realistic, a lot more complex, when we started blurring the lines between, you know, just a fun video game and a simulation, is when I kind of fell off of it, because it was all about accuracy, precision, and strategy, and strafing, and being behind walls, and knowing when to come around and when not to. And it's just, I don't naturally I'm not naturally good at that.
Now I like strategy
I have
games,
no sense
but
of
not
direction.
like shooter strategy.
What's a
like,
different sort of strategy?
Yeah, I like the other side of it.
But everybody knows what you mean when you say strategy game. You know what I mean? Like that's not what I'm just
Right.
saying the sort of strategy that you need in order to go through a stealth mission
No,
in a game like
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
I'm no good at that. You hope there's a little bit of strategy to most games you play. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. Now there's a couple I played.
there's strategy
that,
to platforming. You know what I mean?
I can't think of the name of the one that I played. You had to go around and collect shards of things like this guy Infamous, I think maybe was the name of it. I had a friend.
You played some Infamous?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually really enjoyed
that.
That was when I lived with my friend Adam, not Adam on the channel.
That
Adam.
old school game Infamous.
So, but that was really fun. I lived with him for about 6 months. He's a longtime friend. I've known him longer than I've known you, and from high school. And I'm friends with a lot of my high school friends from back in the day, and still. And I played Infamous, and that was a fun game.
Yeah,
I could get into it. I just don't devote the time to it. I've always been. You had the show Geeks Not Nerds.
Yeah.
I'm always the nerd, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the joke there.
And
When I was
honestly,
on.
we should have actually played that up more, and not in
I
a
wish
mean
we
way.
had.
But like, we would say Geeks Not Nerds, and then it would almost be disparaging, like, oh yeah, that's right. Brandon actually
Brandon's
doesn't
a
belong
nerd.
on this show.
Yeah.
What we should have done is whenever you were on, we should have just called it Geeks and Nerds and been
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, everybody just understand, like Brandon's in a different category, and it's not right or wrong, it's not better or worse. He's just
I bring the science to the table.
He's in a different category. Yeah, and the thing is, we always said early on, the difference between a geek and a nerd was nerds are good at math, and that's Brandon. It wasn't me and Vince. So we didn't play some of that right early on. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit more about, I don't know, stuff you've done on the channel, stuff you and I have done together, and then in the meantime, if you guys have anything you'd like us to talk about regarding anything at all, like pop culture stuff with Brandon, if you're curious about things that Brandon knows or doesn't know about whatever, feel free to leave those questions. Direct stuff as much at Brandon if you can as me, because it would be or stuff to both of us, and we'll do a little Q&A session as we usually do on the Captain Logan Show. We haven't been taking questions; we've just been talking. But for the latter half of this, that's what we'll do. And then in the meantime, Brandon, let's talk about our kind of adventures together. When did we start going places a lot?
Well, the first time I traveled for anything regarding places that we both went together that were further out was for your wedding, which was out in St. Charles, Missouri,
Yeah,
which is
that's
on
right.
the other side of Missouri from where we are in Kansas at Kansas City.
Now, let me say real quick, I wasn't living there. We had the wedding there because that's
Yes.
where Sarah's parents are.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah's dad was putting the wedding on and fitting the bill for the wedding. So he wanted to have it there so that he had more control over what happened there. And it was just incredible what he was able to help us put together.
So that was the first time that I had traveled for you, and we were good enough friends at that point that I was an usher at your wedding. I still have the tie you got me to match the colors for the wedding. And then what? So that year would have been. I'm trying to think. What year did you get married?
We got married in 08.
Oh, 08. Okay. So shortly before you.
And you guys should see how young we both looked in those wedding pictures. You had hair.
Yeah. Don't I know it? My hair went away very quickly.
Very
Over
quickly.
time.
Yeah.
You met me when it was starting to fall
I'm not
out.
making fun. I was just surprised by how quickly it happened.
It was a real shame because I really enjoyed my hair. That's why I grow the beard these
Yeah,
days.
I'm sorry,
because
man.
it's something. No, but
That's one of those grass is always greener things, I think, because I've never understood men who are really bothered by not having hair, but then I have a lot of hair, and so I can't appreciate
well,
that.
I'm actually going to be very, very real when I say this. I've met
Yeah.
a lot of women who say they're looking for somebody with hair.
Okay, and
that's a
and
real.
when you're single and you're wanting to start a family, that makes things difficult,
And I'm
right?
34 and single, and I
Yeah.
didn't get there yet, but we'll see how the future holds. But I don't have hair, so that's kind of a self-conscious thing in that regard. But I like to keep it looking as nice as I can. So I trimmed it up the other day. But what would have been the next thing we went out of town for? When did we go to 64 Galore? That would have been after the documentary, though, right?
Yeah, we did the documentary first.
Did the documentary first.
Yeah, which was 2014.
Okay, that was
And
2014.
then we did...
We'd done some other stuff before that. I know we had.
Did we actually go on the road anywhere, though?
I don't know that we actually
so.
necessarily went on the road, but I'd met a lot of your family, and we'd done, we just go here and there for, like, antique stores and things like that. And we just did a lot in town together, for the most part.
Yeah.
The road trip for the documentary was the first, I think, really big, long thing.
And yeah, and I mean, like, you and I were already, close friends, but I think we really bonded on that trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then on the trips we took subsequently, because we went out of town like 4 or 5 times together that year, because we did a bit of a tour showing the movie at some of the stores that we went to. We went back to about half of them, and Brandon was with me on most of those trips, if not all of them. Was there one you missed?
There was one that I missed, and I don't remember why, but I think it had to do with work. Just not being able to get out of work for that. Like, I'd used too much PTO or something.
But, like, you and I have been back to Arkansas together at least 3 or 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we went back last year. We haven't done 64 again. That's 150 miles of yard sales every year the weekend of my birthday.
I was going to do it this year, but they
12th.
canceled it.
They canceled it, yeah. And I didn't go, and I went last year. That's where I bought the giant barrel of Happy Meal toys. But...
Yeah, instead I drove all over Texas.
Yeah, he's been making trips by himself.
Yeah, social distance.
I'm really glad you're alive,
vacations.
by the way.
Yeah, that was kind of harrowing what happened on the last trip.
He told that story on a couple shows last week, but he had a tire blowout and
it
spun around on the highway at 70 miles an hour.
Could have been
bad.
75 down there, actually. So I was doing that behind a semi at 2 a.m., about to pass the semi. So that was interesting.
So
Live to tell the tale.
So obviously, channel-wise, you've been on quite a bit of stuff. Oh, one thing I wanted to say real quick. I'd love some folks to help me encourage Brandon to do this, and I don't mean to try to put like a giant thing on your plate, Brandon, but I said this to Brandon the other day, I've been kicking around, if Brandon is up for it, putting together a bit of a curriculum and putting Brandon through superhero school, and I really need you guys' support on this to try to convince Brandon to actually go through with it, because I think we could teach you a little bit, and you could be at like a lot higher than an entry level, where it's easier for you to have some of these conversations when they come up on stuff. Like it would be a lot of like just introductions to stuff, right?
Certainly.
So it wouldn't be like, you have to read like a bazillion pages of stuff. It would just be like, here's like a really good episode or two of a show that you probably should get a flavor of. Here's like the first arc in a major series, stuff like that. And I wouldn't make it too much like actual school. I wouldn't make you write essays or nothing, but I would.
No, and I would hope not, because I was a terrible academic. Music and math eventually clicked for me, but academically, I was terrible.
But I think the best way to do it, if you and like, feel free to decline. Obviously, I'm not trying to force you into anything.
Of course not.
But I think it would be really fun for you. And when I say I'd love the audience to encourage it, they know some of the things that I would show you, and they're going to be like, "Oh, you're going to love it." You know what I mean?
Certainly.
What the best way to do it would be, I hand you something, I give you a deadline, you get it watched or read, and then we talk about it, and potentially we could even occasionally make videos on the stuff.
So this is interesting. Holding myself to a deadline has always kind of been an interesting thing for me, because there's certain things where my brain's like, you've got this deadline, you have to get it done, you better get it done. And then I do. But certain things are like, you've got a deadline. You gave me Terminator for Christmas a few years ago, and I never ended up watching it.
But I didn't give you any kind of deadline. I just gave it to you as a gift. Like, if I'd said, "Hey, Brandon, I want to make a video about this next week, get it watched,"
I might have gotten it watched. Yeah, exactly.
That's all I'm saying.
So no, exactly. But years ago.
Also, I'm not your boss. You don't have to do anything I tell you to. I'm just saying that if you wanted to go through with something like that, I think it would be fun.
Years ago, we did a comic.
And I'd love to write it.
We did a comic vault where you loaned me a bunch of issues of different comics that I found interesting that I wanted to read. I read through about half of them.
Yeah.
I didn't get through the rest of them. I still have the stack sitting. It's moved with me from 2 different addresses. It's still in the same stack that it was when, I was reading it. I've still got them.
And that was supposed to be the first of 2 parts. We went through half my comic collection. We're going to do the rest of it, yeah.
And I enjoyed what I was reading.
And now the collection's in better shape. It'd be easier to go through it again.
And I need to read the other half, but I've still got them to give back to you. They're not lost. I could go home and grab them right now. But I just think, that didn't have a deadline. I need more deadlines.
Oh, okay. So see, I thought that was going to turn into, look, I just can't handle deadlines. It's not gonna work out.
Sometimes that's true. But what I do, my nature is I procrastinate till I start at the moment I would have to start in order to finish by the deadline, is usually how it happens.
So anyway, we'll start answering some questions here in a minute. There's a few things in the comments. But anything you want to mention about other channel stuff we've done? I mean, we've told Spawn Year stories a lot.
We've told Spawn Year stories a lot. I'll just breeze on that. I loved working on Spawn Year and being production help on that. And being the jacket and figuring out how to do the practical effects.
And I mean, you were as vital on that show as you were the documentary.
Yeah.
And I mean, Brandon did a lot of on-the-job training. You'd never done videography. You'd never held a camera before, really.
I also navigated the documentary trip.
Yes.
Which
was very necessary because I'm not
the maps and
any
stuff
good
like
at
that. It's funny, though. We had to have Vince sitting in the front seat. Navigators shouldn't be in the back seat, but I understand why we had to have Vince in the front seat. It made it challenging, but not impossible. Well, the earliest video that I can remember being a part of was the video where we talked about if we wanted to design a video game, and I came up with Drive
Revolution, yeah, which we've made fun of ever since then. That's right up there with the pink ass wannabe Justice League of America, which was just a joke in the car one day, but well before the channel. But those two things just keep coming back.
They stick with
Blue Dragon 5 mentioned this earlier. The first video where we can actually hear your voice is the video on profanity that Vince and I did.
Is it really?
Yeah. We were at a Perkins, and we used you and Sarah as kind of the audience for that video.
I remember
it was just Vince and I talking.
Recording that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
we were holding the camera.
Perkins and Lawrence.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was 2009 or 2010, yeah.
I forgot about that completely.
And look it up. It's like episode 7, 8, 9.
I can picture myself. Do you have this thing where when you think about your memories, you see yourself there? You're not in the spot where you were. You're aside from it. You're seeing the whole thing from a different person's perspective.
I don't know. Now that you say that,
I have. That's how I.
Interesting.
Older memories. The older memory gets, the more I'm removed.
Yeah,
from
I don't
where
think
was.
I do have.
I can see myself sitting there. I can see Sarah sitting there, and I can see you guys on the other side of the table. That was the flip camera.
I mean, with that, with that in particular, I don't have that because my memory of that is more the memory of the video because I've seen it like several times.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. But that's interesting that your memory does that, though. I've had that with dreams, of course, but I don't think with memory.
Has that person been with the channel that long, or do they?
Oh,
just
yeah, Blue Dragon
know
5 goes way back. Yeah.
Really?
And he's here for nearly every live show, and he's almost always the first
I've
person
seen
here.
that. Yeah,
and he's been on the show.
That.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an animation expert, and he's been with us for an animation show. Yeah, he's awesome.
That's cool. I wish I knew how to do certain types of animation.
So you want to be an Imagineer is his friend's channel that they do animation stuff on mostly.
Very cool.
But yeah, everybody check that out. It's wonderful. Anyways, but yeah, any other channel stuff?
So just the meta stuff we've done, and like more production on Spawn Year when we shot. When I got to shoot the video of you running for like past the car, and we did the meta where I'm watching Spawn Year, and I look up and I watch you run past the Hy-Vee.
It was a really fun scene.
And then you're running down Metcalf, and people.
Do you remember what you were watching?
No, which one was I watching?
You're watching Cooking with Doomsvents.
That's right, Cooking with Doomsvents.
Because you're in a reality in which Doomsvents has taken over the channel, and he's made it a 1 million subscriber channel, and the popular show is Cooking with Doomsvents. So everybody watches Cooking with Doomsvents, including Brandon, and he's laughing at Cooking with Doomsvents, and then he sees me run by.
I see you run by, and that was one of the meta things that we did there. You
got to be the. We've done this like woe is Brandon joke for years and years. We made Brandon the only person that when I was Spawn I could turn into.
That was a good joke.
It was, all I could be is Brandon.
There's one scene and I had to be wearing a sweater.
And do you know what that's a parody of? Have I ever explained that to you?
Huh.
Okay, so in the Spawn comics, there's this really early on. Spawn is trying because he's got seemingly unlimited powers. He goes, "Well, if I can shapeshift, can I just turn into what I used to look like?" And all I can turn into is this white guy. And because he was a black man, he's like, "Oh, I don't want to be a white guy." And so then he just stays in his sad, depressing Spawn suit and never does that. And I'm like, "Well, that's dumb. Would you rather be anything else?" And so anyway, so we made that the joke.
Yeah.
That you were my white guy.
I was
you were
the
the
only
only
guy that you could
person
turn
that I could turn
into.
into. Yeah, exactly.
And there's a scene where that happens, where you're behind that curtain that we made.
Yeah, in the Coke Redeemer fight.
And you get pushed back there, and then you come back out, but it's me. I'm wearing one of my classic sweaters, and because I wear sweaters a lot in the winter, I love sweaters. And people don't know, but I love Argyle and I love sweaters.
So Captain Spawn transforms into Brandon twice in that show.
Yeah.
And do you remember the other one?
Were you?
There's a regular episode where you actually have to sit in the chair.
Yes, and
you have a hole in your chest.
That's what I remember. Is because keying that hole for you was a challenge.
It wasn't just a challenge; it looked terrible. We never got it right. We shouldn't have done it the way we did it. I mean, it was never good.
Well,
because
it was a fly by the seat of your pants learning experience.
there was too much green on the set.
Yeah,
and we
so much
thought
green.
it wasn't.
Especially Mountain Dew.
I don't know what we were thinking, honestly, now that you say it. Like, so I was like, well, I don't think there was anything on the set that was actually... No, there was. There was straight up green stuff on the set. And we tried to key out a hole that was green.
That was green.
And it keyed everything else out. And I don't know what
Including your eyes, which were glowing green.
Yes, it would key that out. And so then I would try to add it back in post. That was terrible. Yeah. And I had that hole for like 30 episodes. I had to keep keying it. It was terrible.
Yeah, just, little stuff here and there, like on the documentary trip too, and, like finding little things, like when I would get to go off with the camera and find some things to look at, and just learning the stuff that I've learned over the years about all of this, and just the sheer amount, like I had no idea, like that this, that this was as big as it was. And when I was growing up,
just comic shop,
just comics in general. Because
Okay,
I didn't grow up with comics. Comic
so
shops.
not just comic shop culture, but just comic culture.
Comic culture in general. And I'd known about like Kansas City Comic Con for a little while. I knew that there were these conventions, but as far as I was concerned, like growing up, I knew that I was a nerd. And like, and like that was not. I was made fun of a lot for different things that I liked growing up, including my violin playing. Like,
sure.
I was a low man on the totem pole. There weren't many people below me, and then those who were, like, I was friends with those people, like for real. So when this, when I found out about Comic-Con and I finally eventually got to go, I was like, this is insane. This is amazing. And the culture started. It's a lot more mainstream now. That's a double-edged sword.
It is though. Yeah,
very double-edged sword, because this used to be a thing that I was a part of. That was really cool for me, and to find out that there were more people like this was certainly awesome.
Now it's just normal.
Now it's just kind of normal, which isn't terrible.
At least kids aren't getting beat up for Star Trek anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. No. And like I loved Star Trek growing up.
Now Star Trek's not even for children.
Yeah. What's up with that? It's a whole nother conversation. But yeah. I've learned so much over the years, and our friendship is better than it ever was. I think it keeps getting stronger. Like I can't imagine, like I can't. There's stuff I could imagine, but it would be impossible. It would just not happen. That would break our friendship over time. Like it's not going to happen. I could move to the moon, and we would still keep in touch. We'd be Skyping from the moon and back.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we have a really, like I said, unique and odd and interesting friendship because we're extremely different. And I mean, Vince and I are really different too. But you and I don't have exactly like the same sort of like opposites. The thing that I have with Vince, like I don't know how exactly to describe it. It's just like you and I
we meet up in so fewer areas.
But also, I think Vince and I, in certain ways, even though like our habits are really different and stuff, and like I'm more extroverted, he can be pretty extroverted too. But I he's kind of a homebody. I like to go out. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. I think he and I have like a wavelength that we meet on, and I think you and I live in different universes, but still really get along. I don't know why. I
vibe differently or something.
Yeah.
I could make a musical analogy, but you would never get it.
Oh well, thanks. Why don't you just sell me short and assume
well,
that
you talk about wavelengths. Like the troughs and the valleys, the peaks and the valleys of the wavelength, like you can have a resonance or you can have a dissonance. We have more of a dissonance. You and Vince have more of a resonance.
So
but dissonance can work.
you don't
Charles
think
Ives was a great composer.
You didn't think I knew what dissonance and
Well,
resonance
no,
were?
I was gonna get. I'm not gonna say I dumbed it down, but I brought it.
You
I
did
don't
though.
like
You dumbed
to
it down.
Well, I
You got to
don't
dumb
like-
it down for us dumb people.
Here's an interesting double-edged sword. Like, I'll bring stuff down to a level that I think most people could understand, but some people are like, I'm not stupid. And I was like, well, I'm not assuming you were stupid.
So, like, I don't play an instrument, but you know that I have a musical background, right?
Well,
Like,
yeah, well, and you've got that accordion too. I know.
It's not just that, but like I was in choirs
No, I know.
forever.
No,
Like,
I always forget
I've
that.
had to
'cause
take some music theory. Like I know some stuff. I just don't play an instrument.
But that I never remember that is the thing. Like I've
You're like, oh, you
tried
wouldn't get that. I'm
forever.
like, dude, I'm from a musical family.
I
Like,
get more math technical side of it though.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But like
And
you know, like
you're right. That would be
like
kind of whoosh.
like
but-
an A. So I have very good relative pitch. I don't think I have perfect pitch, but I have a very good relative pitch. I like.
Well, we can't all be Jeff, yeah.
440 is a true A here in the United States, but over in Europe they tune to like 444, which is 4 cents higher, and I can tell that difference when I'm listening to CDs. It just because I'm used to playing at a 440, it just feels ever so slightly sharp, and it is compared to what my bass line is. So you know, like if you had if you were at a 440 and Vince was at a 220, which is half the frequency, it's a lower A, then that you guys line up really really well. But
Yeah.
I'm kind
That's
of more of a
interesting.
dissonant. I'm kind of not that. I'm kind of more of a dissonant thing, but dissonance works in the right circumstance.
Let's finally get to some of these questions, Brandon.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do
so
it.
Blue Dragon 5, Brandon, how do you feel fatherhood changed Cap? Because you knew me for a long time before I was a dad.
I did know you a long
Yeah.
time.
Ooh, I can't wait for
That's
the answer to this.
that's a really interesting question because you used. I think you do a lot more. Oh, you do a lot more now than I ever would have thought you would have done beforehand. Like just. First of all, I didn't see you as necessarily the type that would necessarily want a family. I didn't know you on that
interesting.
level.
Yeah, because I always did. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you finally did have a family and it kind of mellowed you in certain ways and made you fiery in other ways. You know exactly what you want out of certain situations that that really kind of surprised me, but it works really well. One of the things that you ended up doing, you became a pet person. I
still don't understand that.
I never saw that coming, and I don't get it either. Like, I still don't understand. Like, you've got 2 dogs and a cat now,
Yeah.
and you love them to pieces. And it's like they might get on your nerves sometimes, but so do I.
The
So,
cat
you know.
doesn't.
No, the cat
The
doesn't.
cat is perfect.
And I'm more of a cat person
There is
myself.
not a being in my life that has ever been more perfect than that cat.
Hey,
There's
I get
like
that.
nothing that I would change about that cat.
So you,
There's only one complaint my wife and I have ever had about it. And Sarah's not a cat person, and we just freaking love that cat. The Oracle. The only thing that she doesn't do that we wish she would do is actually use her cat scratch posts. She won't use them, but that's it. And she doesn't like ruin furniture.
Yeah.
She scratches some of the carpet, but you can't ever tell, so we just let her do it. Like it's not that big of a deal.
if it works, it works.
Anyway,
You
perfect
beca-
cat.
You became a more, I don't want to say nuanced, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a more caring person, but you became more empathetic in a lot of ways, after you had kids.
Yeah, and I think that kind of happens to everybody.
And I think it probably does too, but that's definitely one of the ways in which you changed. I think, honestly, I thought you were a little bit of a spontaneous person when I first met you, and you're less of that now. There's still some of that there, but like I'm a very spontaneous person. I will fly by the seat of my pants. Just somebody calls me up, you want to do something? Okay, drop whatever the heck it was I was doing. And
yeah, but if you had a family, you just wouldn't be able to do that.
No,
You know what I
and-
mean?
no,
it just
but
becomes
again-
the different lifestyle. Like,
again, that's.
but that's not a
changing
personality thing. That's simply
It's not.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of something that
Oh,
would
sure,
be like
yeah.
the direct biggest.
But no, I mean, I still am pretty spontaneous when I'm able to be.
More empathy, I think,
you
is
know.
the biggest thing, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why you ended up with pets the way you did. you're just more open to certain ideas than you were beforehand.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree with that. And I think that's a way easier question for somebody who knows me to answer than it would be for me to answer. Because
Sure.
I have a hard time, like, remembering what I was like before I was a dad. Because, like, when you're a dad for any amount of time, that's just such a part of your identity, right? So, like, I remember events and things I did, but it's very difficult to separate my personality from I'm a father now.
Mm-hmm.
It also, every time you have a kid, becomes harder to look at the world without that kid in it. Where it's like, it's really weird that there was ever a world before Freddie. And
Right.
that was 2014. You know what I mean?
That's
it's
crazy.
5 years after I started the channel, and I can't imagine the world without him in it, you know?
Yeah, I remember when Jason was. Of course, I remember when you had no kids, and then the announcement of your first kid, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, there's going to be, this little person that's going to be awesome," and
Jason was exactly what I pictured.
really,
Yeah, like spitting image.
that's cool.
Just like everything about Jason was exactly what I thought my first kid would be, except he's like 19 times cooler than I ever was.
Well, he's got such a cool dad.
Well, thanks, but I just,
seriously,
I mean,
like-
I think my dad's cool too, but like I was really nerdy when I was little. You know what I mean? I had kind of a, I don't know, like a better way to put it. Like I had a really punchable face. Like Jason doesn't have that. You know, Jason's like way more handsome than I was.
Jason is a good-looking kid, that's for sure. Like he knows how to use it too, like the dance classes that you've got him in, and that type of thing, and you being able to show him the different stuff that you do, and he's a very expressive person, and it's been just a delight watching him grow up too.
So we're already at an hour, and Brandon and I have something else we want to do this evening. So we're gonna knock a few more of these out real quick if we can. I don't mean to cut you off. We just need to finish these.
No,
if we
you're
can.
fine.
James,
I ramble too.
Brandon, have you ever taught? I wouldn't know anything about that. Brandon, have you ever taught Cap how to play the violin? No, we haven't done that.
No, have not done that. I mean, I could teach him some basics, but I remember teaching my sister growing up, and that's why I don't teach the violin right now. Is because I remember my sister, growing up, just having to teach my sister stuff.
If I tried to get you to do it, would you do it, or would you decline?
I could definitely show you some stuff. Absolutely.
I honestly don't have a great deal of interest in that, just because there's other instruments I've always wanted to learn.
Certainly.
That I have not spent the time to do, so that would be kind of low on my list. But I was just curious, like, if somebody that you knew that was pretty close to you, even though you say you don't teach, was like, would you teach me? Like, would you actually do it?
I would show them the basics at the very least and get them a good setup, and show them how to necessarily potentially teach themselves too.
I need to get into that accordion. It's weird. I bought that quite a while back, and I was like, well, I can't practice this very much because like Eric was living in the house at the time, and I didn't want to bother people. And like he's had his own place for several months, and I still haven't pulled it back out. And we've got a much bigger house, so
But
like.
speaking of instruments and stuff, like we still need to put together that if we can, like with Jeff, we need to put together, that we were gonna do like kind of nerdy video game.
Yeah, I know you really wanted to do
soundtrack
that.
stuff.
You'll just need to talk to Jeff and see
Yeah.
how much he wants to, how much
Or I
interest
could
he
just
has.
figure out how to do a
'Cause
one-man show
he's
put
a-
on your channel.
He's a busy guy, and I we would just have to see
Eventually.
how interested he was in doing that. Let's see.
Hit us with another.
Blue Dragon 5 again. Brandon, what is one pop culture thing you would like to get into more?
Just like horror.
Oh,
Like,
really?
That's a big thing. Yeah. Horror doesn't of the horror that I've seen, it doesn't get me. I want to get into more stuff. Like I want to see the Saw movies, and I'm not opposed to like gratuitous violence and like all out gore. If that's what the material is, like that's never bothered me. But like, yeah, that's something that I wish I knew more about was horror.
Oh, Jason's in the comments right now.
Yeah.
John Early, Brandon, what do you and Cap think about the Rocky movies? I mean, do you two dislike Rocky 5 like most people? Brandon's not seen Rocky.
I've not seen Rocky. That's
And
something we've talked about before.
I've been threatening to show you this for a long time, yeah.
Yeah. That type of... Again, that's from a distance. I don't understand the appeal. I like Sylvester Stallone.
You will when you see them. I didn't either. Like, you just have to watch them.
Certainly, and I'm all for a good story. And one day we're gonna sit down and do that. So
Thanks for reminding me. Honestly, I forgot about it. But yeah, I love the Rocky movies. The first time through, because I didn't grow up with those. My wife showed them to me, and we watched everything that existed at the time. Back when I was in the mortuary, in a week, we watched one every day, and there were 6 at the time, up through Rocky Balboa. This was before the Creed movies. movies. So we 6 out of the 7 days we watched every night, and I didn't understand why people didn't like 5 at the time, and enjoyed it, and thought 4 was kind of off, and like 4 is a little silly in places, and it gets made fun of also, particularly that montage. Oh my god, that montage is great. Where he's in the car and he's flashing back to everything that happens in all the movies. It's great with that song. Yeah, but going back through them again later, and I've done this now 2, 3, or 4 times. I'm like, no, I don't know what I was talking about. 5 is really dumb. Like, there's things I enjoy in it, of course. There's some good performances in 5, but yeah, it's not a good movie ultimately. And the thing I love making fun of about 5 is that 4 he goes to Russia, and he fights in Russia, and then he is still there at the end of that movie, and then in 5 he comes back and it's the 90s now. It's like years somehow passed while he was in Russia, and he wasn't there that long, and like he comes back and it's like a different decade now.
Funny.
And yeah, and there's like problems happening in boxing that nobody was talking about before, and it's so he comes back to a press conference. Rocky, how do you feel about the controversy with how violent boxing has gotten now? It's like, no one was talking about this last movie, which was like last week, and it's fantastic. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, Jason asked a question.
Yeah.
Does Brandon like Dad, or is it just the other way?
I mean, we like each other. We're friends.
Yeah, and
what the whole thing's
Jason
been about
knows that.
Yeah.
James.
Now, Jason's gotten some good jokes over on me over the years too. Some darned good jokes. Like, dang, why didn't I think of that one? Like,
he's gotten some zingers on you, man.
Definitely.
Particularly when he makes fun of you about being fired.
Yeah,
a couple times where that was really funny.
Oh my god, it was like hilarious. But like, no kid
ago,
this age should be like have this understanding of this type. Because
we're talking when he was like what, 6?
Yeah.
And you come over and you were about to mention something, and I can't remember what it was, but Jason
I had some news.
Jason, yeah, some news, and Jason goes, "Did you get fired?" And we just
he goes, "Did you get fired again?" And I was just we lost it. Yeah.
And we had this running thing where like Vince would crack up because you were getting like bullied by a 5-year-old. And yeah, it was pretty great. James, Cap, has your brother ever been on the channel? You know, Dennis is my brother. He's second in line, so I was so I'm the eldest, and then I have a brother and a sister, and I'm years apart from them, and then they were only like 12 months apart from each other, maybe, and so naturally they didn't get along growing up. But yeah, I've had my sister on, and I've had my parents on, but I've never had Dennis on.
Dennis has never been on.
And we talked about it, but we just haven't made it happen. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not seeing a lot else. So, you know what? There was one super chat from Tom. Have you seen the TV show Game Over? Is that documentary that just came out about video games, or is that something else? I don't know what that is.
I haven't heard of that.
So no, I don't know what we're talking about. But thanks for the super chat, Tom. I appreciate it, man. Anyway, well, that is going to be it for this evening. So yeah, I just want to reiterate that you know, I am Cap. Brandon and I saw Cap like 100 times.
Each other. That's the point.
Yeah,
behind this whole endeavor.
And I don't know why I have him on. I can't explain that. It's just he's just here. You know, I can't get rid of him.
The conclusion of this video
he's
concludes
like
our friendship.
It's hard to get rid of him. Like he's just no. I'm just kidding. So I mean, like, it's. Our dynamic is different than the dynamic I have with anybody else. We make fun of each other. It's a thing we do, and that's not going to change. I'm going to try not to be like crazy sensitive to it after this video. But if I took it too far, then I'll try to reel it in a little bit, because I understand that some people said they were kind of uncomfortable with it. So I wanted to mention it. But I mean, you know, I'm not gonna like never take a pot shot at Brandon again, any more than I'm never going to take a pot shot at DJ again. You know what I mean?
So I have been like the proverbial, like, this has been my existence, is I do get made fun of quite a lot. But these days, like in my adulthood, it's been, jokey type stuff. I used to get made fun of as a kid, but I got a thick skin. It never bothered me.
Yeah.
So even today, it's just like, great. There might be times where like family member might get mad at me and like say something and be like, I take him to task, but like nothing like that.
But yeah, I mean, I've never meant to make anybody into a punching bag. It's just
I just already was one. There's a difference.
I'm a pretty sarcastic person, and if you make yourself an easy target, it's really hard for me not to fire shots.
Oh, I'm one of the easiest targets.
And
I really am.
I try to be able to take it as well. So I mean, like, it's kind of a good thing to fire back sometimes. But anyway, you guys are great. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Just thought we'd shoot this show for you guys, and we're going to get going. We're going to go do something else now. But I'll be back again tomorrow night with another Captain Logan show, and then After Dark will return again next week, next Thursday night. So look forward to that. If you're a patron, and if you're not, patreon.com/geekvolution, just the $2 tier gets you access to that. Brandon's on that show most of the time, and we talk about all kinds of stuff we wouldn't usually talk about on the channel. And it's a lot of fun. It's uncensored and ridiculous. So anyway,
you can ask us anything, literally anything.
Other thing I want to mention is I did that BVS video with Jason earlier in the week, and we got a great response to that. So Jason and I shot effectively like a second pilot for that today. It didn't mean to be a series. This always happens with stuff where I do like a one-off video and then it just turns into a series. And but he and I had been talking about doing like a podcast or something together for a while. We couldn't decide what it would be on, and that has ended up being a really cool format where I just showed Jason something he hasn't seen, or it's been so long it doesn't matter that he's seen it, and then we kind of get the kid perspective versus my perspective on said thing. And so we shot another one today, and it's on something Jason actually liked this time, and it went just as well as the last one. And we're gonna keep doing them for as long as he wants to do it, and as long as there's interest. So look forward to that. That'll come out next week, probably Monday or Tuesday. So anyway, thanks again for watching. I was Captain Logan, and
I was Brandon
Grimm, and we'll see you guys next time.
Also known as Punching Bag. No, just kidding.
Thanks for watching, guys. Bye, everybody.